Birthdays had never held much significance for me. During my childhood, they felt more like dates on a calendar than actual celebrations, simply another day where the household revolved around other people's needs. However, reaching my 30th birthday carried a different weight. It wasn't about anticipating presents or cake, but rather about discovering whether anyone would actually remember. Just this once, I decided to organize something modest, a peaceful spot at a neighborhood bar in South Austin. Nothing elaborate, simply a strand of golden yellow lights creating ambience. I purchased a red velvet cake from my favorite bakery and brought along some childhood photographs printed on shiny paper, which I attached to the brick wall behind the seating area. I hoped that seeing the picture of 4-year-old me embracing my baby sister Courtney, or the snapshot from that memorable summer journey where Mama Eileen had inscribed "Our brave girl" on the reverse, might trigger their memory. I extended invitations to all of them. Eileen, my mother Dennis, who had been my stepfather for 22 years, Courtney, my half-sister, 5 years my junior and perpetually the beloved one in any gathering, and Zach, my half-brother, the youngest child. Everyone continued calling him Little Man despite him being in his 20s. I crafted the invitation carefully, making it gentle rather than demanding, simply expressing that I would cherish seeing them if they were available. I showed up ahead of schedule, choosing the table closest to the bar, where the lighting was gentle and subdued. The bartender, a gentleman appearing to be in his 40s with compassionate eyes, inquired if I was expecting company. I offered a smile and confirmed, though uncertainty lingered within me. When 7:15 p.m. arrived, there were no phone calls or text messages. My gaze kept drifting toward the entrance. Each time the door opened, I automatically prepared to smile just in case, but none of the entering faces belonged to my family. At 8 o'clock, the cake remained untouched, the gratitude cards beside it still unopened. I sipped my water once, then again. The bartender approached and offered me a complimentary small glass of plum wine. Perhaps they're running behind schedule, he suggested kindly. I acknowledged with a nod, but when 9 o'clock arrived, I understood the reality. I sliced a single portion of cake, shared a photograph on social media with an ambiguous caption about how sweet evenings taste more delicious with cake. I smiled for the camera. Then I consumed it quietly, slowly, not from hunger, but because I couldn't bear for the cake to appear abandoned. By 10 o'clock, I collected my belongings silently, left a generous tip for the bartender, and exited to the rhythm of my heels clicking against the pavement. The drive home was silent, no music, only the hum of streetlights and my own reflections. Upon arriving home, I removed my shoes and stood barefoot in the kitchen, motionless, not contemplating anything, simply breathing. My sadness wasn't because of their absence. My sadness stemmed from the part of me that still held hope they might appear. 7 days went by. I never mentioned the birthday, not in our group conversation, not in individual messages. I foolishly awaited a delayed call, perhaps even a tardy card arriving in the mail bearing Eileen's handwriting on the envelope, that sharp, flowing script that always carried a faint scent of lavender hand lotion. Instead, I received a group message. It came from Eileen, through the same conversation thread we had previously used to organize Christmas gatherings and 4th of July cookouts. Hello, family. Dennis's 60th birthday is approaching. We're arranging a weekend at Pacific Shores Resort, complete package with beachfront and private dining. $1,500 per person. Please send payment via Venmo by Friday so I can secure the reservations. Love you all. No acknowledgement of my birthday. No apologize for missing it. Not even a simple "how are you doing?" Just a bill disguised with emojis and expressions of love. Courtney responded almost immediately. Just transferred it. Cannot wait. This will be incredible. Zach quickly followed. Completed. Let me know if you'd like me to bring a bottle for Dad. I reread the conversation, my thumb pressed against the screen as though it might reveal some explanation. There was nothing. I felt no anger yet. I felt cold, motionless. The type of stillness that requires no shouting. I opened my payment application and entered Eileen's username. I sent $1. The message field awaited input. I typed "happy birthday" and nothing else. Then I closed the application, secured the door, and extinguished all lights in my apartment as if departing for an extended journey. I wasn't going anywhere. I was simply finished. I altered the passwords on every shared account I had previously maintained with them, the emergency fund I had established for Eileen's medications, the supplementary card I provided for Courtney's tuition expenses, the Banking profile Zach utilized when his student loans reached their limit. I hadn't accessed those accounts in months, but they certainly had. I was aware of their usage. Next, I reviewed my contact list individually. Eileen, Dennis, Courtney, Zach. Block, 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 block. No explanations, no theatrical farewell. Message, just silence. Later that evening, I sat on my bed's edge and opened a partially composed message I had begun months earlier. I'm uncertain what I did to become invisible to you, but it causes pain. I erased it. I no longer required their understanding. I didn't even need their remembrance of me. I simply needed to remember myself independently from them. And for the first time in years, I slept without checking my phone even once. It began with a notification. Suspicious login attempt detected on your account. I stared at it, the screen bathing my apartment in pale blue illumination. My hands remained steady, but my chest constricted as if an invisible cord was tightening inward. I accessed the banking application. They had attempted to reach the joint account, the one I hadn't touched in months, the one I had previously used to cover Zach's tuition payments, Courtney's wedding florist, Dennis's truck maintenance, and the bathroom renovation Eileen claimed would help his back condition. I contacted the bank without hesitation. Freeze the account, I instructed. Transfer all remaining funds to my personal checking and modify every verification method associated with my name. The representative didn't question my request. They never do when the tone carries that level of certainty. That evening, the phone calls began, unknown numbers. I declined to answer. Then came the messages, brief and harsh, filled with anger disguised as concern. Why did you change the locks? What are you doing? Why are you excluding us? This is family. Answer the phone. I powered off the device. By Friday evening, I thought perhaps the commotion would subside, but I had underestimated Eileen. To her, silence wasn't surrender, it was a challenge, and she never retreated from challenges. The knocking arrived just after 9 o'clock, rapid, loud, persistent. I checked the peephole, then the security camera feed. 2 police officers stood there, one tall and sturdy, the other younger with a clipboard in hand. I opened the door, but only slightly. Gloria Whitman? The older officer inquired. I nodded. We received a report that you're unreachable and potentially at risk. Your family filed a missing person report, he stated. They mentioned you've been acting unstable, possibly dangerous to yourself. I blinked. Unstable. I allowed them to enter just enough to observe my living room. Clean, peaceful. The gentle hum of a diffuser still releasing lavender into the air. My work laptop sat open on the table. Zoom call log still visible. I've been working all week, I explained. You can contact my supervisor. 10 people on my team can verify I've been in meetings throughout the day. I'm not missing. I'm not unstable. I'm simply done. The younger officer surveyed the room, then met my gaze. Family mentioned they were concerned, he said, his tone measured. I smiled dryly, not cruelly. They weren't concerned. They were losing control. The older officer tucked his notepad away. We don't involve ourselves in family disputes, but if the contact continues and you feel harassed, you can file a restraining order. I nodded once, after they departed. I didn't sit down immediately. I simply stood in the doorway, hand on the handle. My apartment remained warm, still mine. I had never imagined the day my own family would weaponize concern in such a manner, not to locate me, but to draw me back. Saturday arrived quietly. I was in the kitchen awaiting the kettle when the pounding commenced. It wasn't knocking, it was fists, unapologetic and angry. I walked slowly to the door and checked the camera. Eileen, Dennis, Courtney, Zach, all 4 of them on my doorstep like some distorted portrait of unity. Eileen's mouth formed a tight white line. Dennis stood with arms crossed, rigid. Courtney tapped frantically on her phone, likely recording. Zach appeared as though he'd prefer being elsewhere, but he remained present. I didn't open the door immediately. I activated the speaker. What brings you here? I asked. Eileen's voice cut like a whip. Open the door, Gloria. Now. We need to talk. That's sufficient, I replied evenly. Discuss what? How you attempted to access my account, or how I was excluded from Dennis's birthday plans, yet still received an invoice. Dennis stepped forward, his voice deep and rehearsed. You're behaving like a child. We're worried. And this is your response? I released a short, dry laugh. Worried? You called the police and reported me missing. That's your definition of concern? Courtney struck the door harder. Who do you think you are? ignoring our calls, freezing accounts, blocking your own mother. You're being dramatic again. I opened the door. I didn't permit them entry. I stood in the frame, shoulder against the wood, body still, gaze steady. What do you want? I asked. I didn't soften the edge in my voice. Eileen met my eyes, the ones I had inherited. Hers were rimmed red, but not from sorrow, from rage. We're family, and you're treating me like some stranger. Perhaps, I said calmly. You never truly knew me at all. Dennis's tone sharpened. You're being ungrateful. We raised you. We fed you. We provided everything for you. I stepped forward, voice low. I began working at 16. I paid for my own vehicle, my own education. I graduated debt-free because I maintained two jobs. I funded Courtney's wedding, Zach's degree, and your second mortgage. What exactly did you provide me besides obligation and silence? Eileen exploded. What about the nights I stayed awake, worrying about you? The credit cards I maxed every Christmas to create a home atmosphere? And now you discard it all over a birthday? Not over a birthday, I said, my voice sharper now, over a decade of endurance. Every time I had a bit extra, you had a new crisis. Every time I expressed fatigue, you said, we're all tired. Every time I requested space, you labeled it abandonment. Courtney sneered. You always play the victim. You have money now, and you act like we're parasites. I nodded slowly. Not the only one who struggled, but the only one who was exploited and had it called love. Dennis attempted once more, his tone lowering like a peace offering. We simply want things to return to normal. Families argue. This is just a misunderstanding. I shook my head. It's not a misunderstanding. It's a pattern, a one-sided economy of love, and I'm bankrupt. Eileen stepped forward. Fine, walk away, but don't come crawling back when you're alone and without options. I didn't flinch. If I must choose between being alone or being used, I choose alone. She opened her mouth again, but Dennis pulled her back. Courtney gave me a look as if I had just ignited our entire childhood. Perhaps I had. I closed the door quietly, completely, for good. 2 days after I shut the door in their faces, I received an email not from them, but from the bank. Co-borrower consent required for mortgage refinancing on property located at 1175 Shoreline Drive. I stared at the screen, then reread it. 1175 Shoreline, their house. The one Eileen and Dennis had pleaded with me to co-sign for 6 years ago when another loan had failed. I still recalled the late-night call, Eileen, weeping with Dennis in the background, mumbling something about being too old to start over. At that time, I had told myself, you're in a good position. You can help. It's family. But now, they were attempting to refinance again without even asking. I didn't feel shocked, just emptied. I called my attorney, Elaine Foster, the same woman who had helped me navigate a financial mess when I briefly worked in real estate. They're trying to refinance without my consent, I told her. I want it blocked. Her voice was calm but crisp. Send me the original agreement, title deed, and any emails. I'll freeze all transactional rights tied to your name immediately. I didn't stop there. I opened a new draft in my inbox and typed, subject, request for personal financial audit, family support expenses past 7 years. I sent it to my accountant with a list I had kept in my phone's notes app. Quiet entries over the years, jotted down more from survival than resentment. Shoreline down payment, $78,000. Dennis's Ford truck loan, $21,000. Courtney's destination wedding, $36,000. Zach's college tuition, for years, $44,000. Eileen's medical bills, 2020. 2022, $51,000. Miscellaneous loans never returned, $18,500. Total, 2 for 8, 500. I requested itemized proof receipts, bank transfers, anything that could speak louder than memory. 3 days later, the audit was complete. It arrived in a clean spreadsheet, with color-coded tabs and PDFs attached for each item. I opened it slowly, like removing the bandage from a wound I wasn't prepared to see. I stared at the number again, not because I wanted it returned, but because I needed to see it for what it was. Not generosity, not love, just the cost of being in a family where only one person ever paid. I reopened the family group chat, long dormant now, and shared the file. No greeting, no context, just 5 words. I want it all back. The thread exploded within the hour. Eileen, have you lost your mind? Who does this to their own family? Courtney. Are you serious? You're counting every penny like we're strangers, Zach. I'm working double shifts to survive, and now you want blood money? Dennis, finally. You're tearing this family apart. Your mother hasn't slept in days. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I emailed Elaine again. If they can't buy out my share of the house, I wrote, I want to withdraw. Force a sale. 10 minutes later, she called. Are you sure? Yes. They might turn on you completely. They already did. Elaine's office sent the formal notice on a Monday morning to Eileen Whitman and Dennis Harper. Ray, withdrawal of capital. Interest in jointly owned property at 1175 Shoreline Drive. It was brief, direct. If they couldn't buy out my share, we'd proceed with a forced sale. The reaction came faster than I expected. First, a message from Courtney. You're really going to put Mom back in that rundown apartment from before? You're not just cold, Gloria. You're cruel. I didn't reply. They called me selfish, me, the daughter who had sent money monthly without being asked, who had paid for everything from Zach's textbooks to Dennis's dental implants. Now, because I wanted my name off a house I never lived in, I was the villain. That night, the only message that gave me pause came from Eileen. Gloria, if you go through with this, we lose everything. The house will be sold. I have nowhere to go. Are you really this heartless? I set the phone down gently. I wasn't heartless. I was clear. For the first time in years, I knew if I didn't follow this through, I'd fall right back into the old role: provider, peacekeeper, sacrificial limb. Then came the silence. A week without a word from any of them. Not even Courtney, who never let a moment of drama pass unposted. But the quiet didn't feel like surrender. It felt like strategy. Elaine sent me an update the following Monday. They've agreed to sell. It's being listed as a fast sale property, she said. But don't get too comfortable. They're already delaying. Pay out of your share. I answered with 2 words, stay close. 3 days later, I got a call from Aunt Virginia, Eileen's older sister, the only relative who still spoke to me with a tone of measured care. Your mother called, she said slowly. She's crying every night, says you're throwing the whole family out on the street. I didn't defend myself. I wasn't angry with Virginia, but I was tired. People believe the version of the story they want. I told her, I'm not asking for revenge. I'm asking for a refund. The house went on the market 2 weeks later. A 3-bedroom with a deck out back where we once grilled burgers on the 4th of July. I saw the listing photos. I felt nothing. Then the cars went: first Dennis's Explorer, then Eileen's sedan, sold through Facebook Marketplace, masked as downsizing. Then the jewelry, the sapphire earrings I'd given Eileen when I got promoted, the ones she wore every Christmas. A broker sent photos to Elaine as proof of payment attempts. I barely recognized them anymore. The payments trickled in. First $10,000. A week later, $5,000 more. I didn't acknowledge receipt. Elaine sent a formal letter. Pay the balance or face full legal proceedings. The next morning, the final $7,200 arrived. Total, $22,200. Exactly what I'd asked for, not a dollar more. I stared at the bank notification, just text on a screen, but somehow it felt like 10 years of giving had been collapsed into a single line item. Transfer received. No apology. No explanation. No family, just money finally moving in the right direction. It was a Friday night 4 months later when a coworker asked if I wanted to join them for bowling after work. I almost declined. Loud places never felt like home, but something in me, curious or maybe just restless, said yes. We took the lane near the end. Neon lights flickered overhead, casting everything in soft greens and blues. Laughter echoed off the polished floor. I rolled a few frames, nothing impressive, but decent enough to avoid attention. Then, as I turned to grab another ball, I saw him 2 lanes over, struggling to lift a dark green ball. Shoulders thinner, hair grayer, gait slower. Dennis. He didn't see me at first, but when he bent to pick up a spare, his eyes swept the room and stopped. We both froze. Instinct told me to leave, to vanish into the noise, but I stayed. He walked toward me slowly. His bowling shoes squeaked on the wax floor. When he got close enough, he didn't speak right away, just looked at me like he was waiting for permission to exist. Gloria, he said finally, soft, as if one wrong breath might break whatever this was. I didn't reply. I didn't expect to see you here, he said, gesturing toward the empty lane beside me. Mind if I roll a few? I didn't nod, but I waved to the attendant to reset the lane. We bowled in silence for a few minutes. His first throw went straight into the gutter. He gave a short, defeated laugh. Guess I lost the last thing I was ever better at than you. I said nothing. He sat back down beside me, not too close. His voice dropped. I used to think I was strong, that being the man of the house meant something. But the truth is, when you started earning more, started growing beyond what I could offer, I felt small. I didn't know how to handle that. I looked at him, not with anger, just observation. I used the title stepfather like a shield, he continued, to make you feel like you owed me something. But the truth is, you didn't. You never did. I rested, my elbows on my knees, eyes steady. You didn't just take money, Dennis. You took trust. You dragged them all into a cycle of need no one was willing to call what it was. He nodded slowly. No apologies ever going to fix it. I just want you to know I regret it deeply. And I'm sorry I never told you I was proud of you. That landed heavier than I expected, but I didn't soften. I'm not coming back, I said. I'm not looking to fix anything. I just want to live without being expected to give. He reached out a hand. It trembled slightly. I took it. His was cold. Mine wasn't warm. But for the first time, it felt equal. I stood, straight in my jacket. I'm heading out. Enjoy your game. He nodded. Didn't ask me to stay. The night air wrapped around me as I stepped outside the alley. It smelled faintly of pavement and cold. With a hint of magnolia from somewhere I couldn't place, I opened the car door and sat for a moment, not rushing, just breathing. No missed calls, no guilt-laced messages, no one asking for rent money or rescue, just silence. A tea home. I made tea and sat by the window, legs curled under me. I didn't think about birthdays or bank transfers or the word daughter as they had used it. I just listened to the stillness of a life no longer borrowed, no longer bartered. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel punished. I felt mine. The next morning, I booked a trip, not to disappear, just to begin again. Not as a wallet, not as a fallback plan, just as Gloria.